So this is a video to show how are the projects I have worked with about Rome, and what are the problems that I have in the old project that I do several years ago, and my intention to fix those problems in a new project that I am starting. Okay, so this is my old Rome map forum, and as you can see, the forum is almost already down. Forum of Rome has a lot of monuments and iconic buildings on it, but almost all of them are here. And the problem with these buildings, for example, let's be close to this building. This building is the Temple of Divinus Caesar, and this building has a lot of items, a lot of small objects. For example, this is one object. Stairs are several objects. These objects here are several objects. Here is another object. Walls are different parts that are composed together, as you can see, to make all the walls in the temple. The same for the railings, balconies. Every single part of the building, or the roof, for example, in this case is very few objects, but sometimes in other parts of the model of the Roman Forum there are a lot of small items for each part of each object. So the number of objects right now in the screen is huge, thousands of them, and all of that increases a lot the time spent to draw each frame. And that is a problem when you want to execute this in VR. And this is a game made for VR, so here is the problem. If you want just to execute this in a screen, as you can see, you can do it. But it's moving fast, and you can have a decent amount of frames per second. I'm not showing now the frames per second because it's not compiled and it's not optimized, so the numbers do not say anything right now in game, in Unreal. But the number is too big for VR. So the new approach to doing this is to move all this stuff, all this work right now here, to a new map, to a new project, in which all the objects are more optimized to be executed in VR and to be scaled, so the full city can be created. Because if I have to create all the city of Rome using this approach of small objects to compose bigger objects, then at the end it will. Oh, I see this thing. This thing is not, it's just a test. It's not something that should be here. It's just a test. But at the end, you will end with so many objects in a city that it's impossible to execute. Games like GTA or Red Dead Redemption or something like that has big landscapes with cities, with a huge number of things on the screen. You need to organize assets and objects in the scene, so you can make them very easily reduce in level of detail. And it's very complicated to reduce the number of detail of this scene right now, because it's a lot of objects. And the game engine, what needs to do is to change the level of detail for a lot of objects. If you have 1,000 objects, then that implies that when that 1,000 objects are far away from you, the game engine has to deal with that 1,000 objects and reduce the level of detail for all of them. But if you have only 10 or 15 objects, then that reduces a lot. Imagine that each building you are seeing right now is only one object in the screen, in the scene. That reduces a lot the work that requires for the engine to process the scene you are seeing right now. So my first building for doing this new approach is the Temple of Saturn. This is the temple, and the work started some years ago, and I created some big objects for it. For example, the stairs are no more single objects, they are one object, and the podiums and the walls are more or less one or a few amount of objects, but still it is not a one object. Still you have here perhaps 20, 30 objects at the end, if you compute the number of columns and so on. And what I am doing right now is to move all these objects, redoing them, renaming them, reorganizing them in a new project for better optimization. And this is the result. I am testing it is in a new project, is here, and this is the result. This is the same object, no difference with the previous one, for the building of Temple of Saturn, with small differences in textures perhaps to optimize the most more the building, and it's only one object. You can select it. It's not separated objects. All of this temple is only one single object, and we can see it here. One single object loaded, just one import, and of course you have here a lot of material slots. Okay, we have too many materials because we are rendering a lot of different objects that require different materials, but this is something that we can deal, making this object more optimized object, mixing several materials together, doing atlas for the materials. That type of stuff can increase a lot more the optimization of these objects. And now we have lots for, I don't have lots right now loaded, but I have lots for the building. So all the building changes, when you see it in the distance, changes at the same time. In my previous project here, the building changed individually, so you can see the columns change when you move away, but not the rest of the parts of the building. So that's not a very good approach, because you are seeing too many things when you with very big detail when you are away from the object, from the building. It's more clever, smart approach to create lots for each building as a block, as an object, and the building changes all of it at the same time when you move away from it. Well, of course, the game is going to be executed here on the street, on the ground. So you're never going to see some parts of the building, but it doesn't matter. The LODs, the lots, the level of detail is working the same, no matter if you are flying around the city or walking in the streets. So this is the project. This is let me show from the top what is the content. This is supposed to be the Jupiter temple. It's not well done. It's not correct. It's just something to put here. And this temple is the same. It's a kind of temple. It is here, but it's not this way. But some buildings are there just to try to make a background in the Roman Forum. But the idea is to have at least these objects, the one that are the main buildings. So we have Portico Deorum Consentium. This is the building here. This is Temple of Vespasian. It's close to this one, and it lives behind a small street where is the Tabularium. This building is called the Tabularium in Roman Forum, and it is one of the buildings that today still exists, more or less the same. I also have the Temple of Concord, this one, and moving here, I have also the Ark of Septimius Severus. This is the Curia Julia building. That is a building that today remains. This is the Rostra with several monuments here, the Umbilicus Urbi and other things here. This arch, also we have here another arch, small arch here, and also there at the end is another arch, typical arches that existed in the Roman Forum, arches of Augustus, Tiberius, and I don't know the name of it. This big building is the Basilica Julia, I think, yes, the Basilica Julia, and this one is the Basilica Aemilia. They are very close, very similar, one another. I have reduced a lot objects for one and for the other. So you can see that they are very, very similar objects, very similar buildings. This requires a lot of optimization. These buildings are hundreds and hundreds of small objects that should be done in another way. Well, here we have the temple of Caesar. This is the temple of Antoninus and Faustina. Here is a small building called the Regia. And here is the temple of Vesta. This is one of my first buildings I do. It's very small and very easy to do. And I also do the interior for it, the only one with interior. We can enter and see the eternal fire that Roman people should care to be lightning all day. And also the temple of Castor and Pollux, with Castor and Pollux guys here as statues. Statues are not very good in quality, are taken from the web, models from the web that are very difficult to use sometimes because of the huge number of triangles and that they are not retopological. I don't know the word. Redo topology. You need to redo topology for these objects to be better optimized for having loads and that type of things, but it's not the case. And that's it. That's more or less all the project I have. Of course, I have several buildings here in the distance, just for making a background, but they are not exact. They are not correct. That buildings weren't that way in that places. So there is a lot of work here, but a lot of things to improve and a lot of things to do if we want to go further, if we want to expand this small part of the city to more and more parts of the city. The terrain, for example, the landscape is very flat. with the exception of the mountain here, of the Colina, the hill of Capitolio, but it's very small. The landscape is very small, as you can see here. And what I do, I think, is to put here a kind of boundary to avoid any player to go further. Okay, now I also have purchased two projects called Rome Fantasy Pack 1 and 2. They are amazing stuff. This is a small demo for the objects you see here. There are a lot of objects already done. It's quite cheap, this asset in the Epic store. And I'm going to upload all the objects in the project, organized to be there in my project. I'm going to upload all of this also to our project, to my project, so we can reuse all these things in the creation of more parts of the city. For example, here in the surroundings of the Roman Forum, instead of using this building that is not very accurate here, we can use a lot of this stuff for increasing the surroundings and making it more vivid, more exactly as it was. Also, I have this other project, Rome Fantasy Pack 2. This is also amazing stuff from the same guy. It has interior and exterior of a typical temple that we can reuse a lot. It has also a villa, a typical Roman house with all the things that usually they have. A lot of paintings in the walls, a lot of mosaics in the floor, the typical impluvium, the impluvium of a typical Rome house. So any furniture object that usually goes inside a house. So a lot of things here to reuse for a project of Rome and make it more vividly, more realistic, adding all this stuff to, for example, a near villa near the Roman Forum or another street, or several villas, and you can walk inside and see all these things. One thing I don't have is audio. I have very small assets, a number of assets with audio. For example, I have the pit fires. They are not sounding. It's not very much. I have no more than that for audio clues in the project. So it's something definitely to improve in the project. The part of the audio is requires more efforts because it has no, but requires more work there. So okay, this is more or less what I wanted to share. This is the status of current project. This is how we have right now the new project with a new map, started map or test map for mapping the temple, the first temple, and I suppose they will do more test maps for testing more buildings and more stuff, and then move to create a bigger map and grab all these things in this map and make a new map with everything inside, because there are a lot of things here and we need to take all these things, all this map we have not right now that has no a good landscape, a good streets, good props, and all the tiles that make this more believable.